This week on Christian World News, betrayal at the United Nations. The Security Council votes to marginalize Israel. Why didn't the U.S. stop it? And what might be coming up next? Plus,
it's a place where if you're thirsty, you'll get something to drink. If you're hungry, you'll get fed. If you don't have a place, you'll find a place. And if you don't have a family, you'll join ours.
See the amazing story of how one church in Iowa is reaching refugees from across the world. And they invested their life savings into orphans. See how this amazing couple has given everything to show love to abandoned children in China.
여러분 안녕하십니까? 크리스천 월드뉴스입니다. 유엔 안전보장이사회가 이스라엘의 팔레스타인 자치령 내 정착촌의 건설 중단을 촉구하는 결의안을 채택했습니다. 그동안 정착촌 건설에 비판적이었던 오바마 미 정부가 기권표를 던져 결의안이 통과되자 후폭풍이 거센데요. 향후 몇 년간 이스라엘에서는 심각한 갈등이 예상됩니다. 오늘의 첫 번째 소식입니다.
For thousands of years, Jews have prayed at the Western Wall in Jerusalem. It was part of the outside wall of the Second Jewish Temple during the time of Jesus. Now, according to the United Nations Security Council, it's occupied Palestinian territory.
This resolution will go down as another shameful resolution, but it'll be thrown into the dustbin of history.
Just before Christmas, the U.S. abstained from voting against UN Security Council Resolution 2334, condemning Israeli settlements in biblical Judea and Samaria, also known as the West Bank. In doing so, the U.S. abandoned its longtime policy of vetoing anti-Israel resolutions.
It is unfortunate to see someone who claims to be a friend, this administration, basically abandon us in such a profound way.
In a very long speech, Secretary of State Kerry argued that condemning settlements was the best way to promote Israeli-Palestinian peace. Israeli Education Minister Naftali Bennett said the resolution was like a self-inflicted wound for the world.
It gave backwind to thousands of terrorists around the world that want to destroy Israel, because when they see the UN taking such a crazy resolution against Israel, essentially saying that Jerusalem is occupied territory.
Palestinians were pleased with the UN decision. They hope it will force Israel to give them land without giving anything in exchange.
We know now that it was a premeditated move by the Obama administration together with the Palestinians against Israel.
Israel says it has evidence it will give incoming President Trump that the Obama administration helped write the resolution. According to a report by the Middle East Media Research Institute, the Egyptian daily Al-Yum Al-Sabi published the minutes of a secret meeting between Kerry and National Security Advisor Susan Rice and PLO Executive Committee Secretary Saeb Erekat. The minutes of the meeting reveals that the sides agreed to collaborate regarding a resolution on the settlements. The American side focused on coordination of positions between Washington and Ramallah regarding the resolution on the settlements, which was brought to a vote in the Security Council and adopted. It's not clear what can be done to reverse the effects of the resolution, but many are concerned that the upcoming Paris Peace Conference will deliver yet another international blow to the Jewish state.
계속해서 취재 기자를 연결해 좀 더 자세한 소식 들어보겠습니다.
CBN's Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell joins us now from Jerusalem. Chris, what does this UN resolution mean for the status of Jerusalem?
Well, for Jerusalem, George, it basically divides it in half. It says the eastern part of Jerusalem. And what that means is the old city. And behind me, you can barely see it right now because it's dark here in Jerusalem. But behind those walls behind me are more than 3,000 years of Jewish history. That includes the Western Wall, the City of David, the Mount of Olives, all the things that are familiar to us from the Bible, and it basically gives that and says to the Palestinians and declares it occupied Palestinian territory. So to the status of Jerusalem, it's a dramatic change.
How does it impact the Israeli-Palestinian conflict? Does it, for example, leave Israel in a weaker bargaining position?
Definitely, because the negotiations between the Israelis and Palestinians have been based for nearly 50 years on a resolution called 242 from 1967. And basically that was land for peace. And that meant part of the Sinai, Gaza, and the West Bank. Israel gave back the Sinai, they gave back Gaza, and they have given back part of the West Bank. But now it basically declares that all of the West Bank from the 1967 borders is basically occupied Palestinian territory. So it takes away leverage, all of the leverage that Israel had at this time. The other thing that it also does, George, is that it really takes any incentive away from the Palestinians. If they can get anything they want through an international body like the United Nations, there's really no need or desire for them to go to the negotiating tables. And finally, George, it makes compromise by any Palestinian leader very difficult, because if the international community already says Jerusalem and the entire West Bank is occupied Palestinian territory, how can they make any compromise, anything less than the international community has already declared?
Chris, we are just days away from Obama leaving office. What else might he do before he vacates the White House?
Well, there's a lot of concern here in Israel and some in the U.S. that on January 15th at the Paris Peace Conference, they're going to ratify sort of what John Kerry said just a few days ago, his 6 points in his speeches, his last major speech as Secretary of State. First of all, they're going to do that. And then 2 days later, maybe on the 17th through the 19th, the UN Security Council may convene again. And there's a concern that maybe one more attempt by the Obama administration to delegitimize Israel. And maybe even some have speculated they maybe even try to enshrine Palestine as a full member of the United Nations.
Wow. Chris, what can Christians around the world be doing right now to stand up for the nation of Israel?
Well, I think the first thing they can do, George, is pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And I think because Jerusalem was really the epicenter of this whole idea behind this resolution, that's one thing. They can pray that the United States wouldn't have any bad effects, because a lot of people look at Genesis 12:2 and 3 that says those that bless Israel would be blessed and those that curse Israel be cursed. And so they believe that really the U.S. could get the bad benefit, that is, of this resolution, and also pray that nothing will happen in the next few weeks, that nothing at the United Nations, at the Paris Peace Conference would further delegitimize the Jewish state.
이번에는 터키로 가봅니다. 2017년 새해를 맞이하기 하루 전 수도 이스탄불의 나이트클럽에서 테러가 발생해 39명이 목숨을 잃는 사건이 발생했었죠. 아직도 안타깝게도 범인은 잡히지 않았다고 합니다.
Turkish media say the suspect took this selfie video. It shows the killer smirking while filming in the central area of the city. But it isn't clear if it was taken before or after the massacre. ISIS is taking credit for the killing, saying Christians were targeted in, quote, revenge for God's religion.
터키는 무슬림 국가지만 사실 오랜 기독교 역사를 지닌 곳이기도 합니다. 요한계시록에 기록된 7교회도 모두 터키에 있는데요. 하지만 애석하게도 그곳의 기독교인들은 날로 심해지는 박해에 시달리고 있다고 합니다.
In Turkey, American pastor Andrew Brunson sits in prison, facing trumped-up charges of terrorism. He's a Christian who lives and preaches in Turkey, and experts say that's enough to put him at risk.
So today, I would argue that Turkey, particularly Turkey's Christians and Jews, are going through a very difficult period.
Dr. Aykan Ademir is a Muslim Turk who's dedicated his career to helping Christians, Jews, and other religious minorities gain full religious freedom in his country. It was his core mission as a member of Turkey's parliament, but he faced roadblocks. Now he advocates from Washington, D.C., working with the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies.
I think Christians have learned to live under constant threat of physical or symbolic violence. They're used to constant messages of hate. They're used to Turkey's culture of impunity, meaning they know that there will be very lenient sentencing to the assailants.
And things got worse last summer, he says, after a coup attempted to topple Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Turkish authorities were already suspicious of Protestants, especially missionaries. Since the coup, it's gotten worse.
When we talk about Turkey, we're talking about basically the biblical lands. This is the country that hosts a lot of the Jewish and Christian sites. So there is a very rich heritage, and it's so sad to see how Turkey's Islamists systematically not only marginalize them, but also portray them as being foreign.
In the coming months, Ademir fears other Protestant pastors and missionaries could be framed by security forces like Pastor Brunson. And following the coup, it's hard to find Turks willing to speak out for their Christian neighbors.
The majority of citizens are afraid to talk because since July 15th, 110,000 civil servants have been fired from their jobs, 37,000 people have been arrested, hundreds of news outlets, including newspapers, magazines, TV, and radio stations, have been closed.
It's an issue President-elect Trump will have to confront, as Ademir and others fear America's NATO ally increasingly resembles an authoritarian regime. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Washington.
이슬람 극단주의 무장단체 IS에 납치를 당한 한 가톨릭 사제가 도움을 요청하는 내용의 영상이 유포됐습니다. 지난 3월 예멘의 아덴이란 마을에서 납치된 톰 우즈나일릴입니다.
Dear Pope Francis, dear Holy Father, as a father, please take care of my life. I'm very much depressed. My health is deteriorating. I may need hospitalization soon. Please come to my help quickly.
We continue to pray for Tom. Please keep him in your prayers. Indian officials told church leaders in Father Tom's hometown of Kerala that they are doing everything possible to get him out.
전 세계적으로 난민 문제가 계속되고 있는 가운데 미국 교회가 중요한 역할을 감당하고 있습니다. 그중에서도 아이오와의 한 교회는 봉사를 통해 도움이 필요한 이들에게 손길을 내밀고 있는데요. 이들의 사역을 함께 만나보시죠.
Good morning. How are you?
Zion Lutheran is not your average church. On any given Sunday, they offer services in 4 different languages, and those attending speak over 15 dialects. The inspiration that transformed this 150-year-old ministry into a 24/7 mission field came from one simple question. If our church closed, would anyone miss us?
There was no consequence. Can you imagine being a pastor of a church that really doesn't have a reason to exist?
Cleaning out the gum. In 2010, they prayed about the future of the church. God's answer revealed an unexpected plan.
Everybody got their seatbelts on?
In Luke 14, we learned that he wanted us to be a place that would bless people who couldn't bless us back.
So they took box lunches to a nearby low-income apartment complex, housing refugees from all over the world. They asked each person, "How can we bless you?"
We didn't plan anything, we just walked down the street, and everything unfolded because it's just a matter of faithfulness to God.
Zion began making weekly visits and also brought refugee children back to the church for tutoring. As word of their work spread, they caught the attention of a group of Burmese Christian refugees. The Mizus had been worshiping in a small apartment and needed a bigger space.
When I talked with Pastor John, he was like, everything you want to do, you can do it. This is God's house, not my church or no one's church. This is God's house.
Zion welcomed the Mizus in and gave them a service time. Then the church went a step further, sending someone to Burma to bring over a new associate pastor who spoke their own dialect.
The first service was very emotional.
We can freely worship in our style, in our language, you know. It's very awesome.
Now the mission offers Arabic and Swahili services, along with a diverse youth program reaching over 300 students.
It's a place where if you're thirsty, you'll get something to drink. If you're hungry, you'll get fed. If you don't have a place, you'll find a place. And if you don't have a family, you'll join ours.
These communities not only use the church, they've become an invaluable part of it.
When we came here, we didn't have, the language to tell our story. We didn't have, people to help us because we didn't know them. But now we have this community. We have all these people surrounding us.
When refugees arrive, no matter their religion or language, Zion helps with tutoring, resettlement assistance, and friendships in their new home. Every day, people bring in donations that fill Zion's main lobby. Refugees from around the community are welcome to come and take whatever they need.
When refugees come, there's a limited time when they need the most, and when you can invest in their lives, say, Jesus loves you, like with these Syrians, It's like, no, you matter, and I care about your eternity.
Ministering in this way isn't always easy. Many of Zion's new members lost family to war, and others come from different sides of civil wars.
The biggest challenge is being a mission field 24/7. People don't want to suffer, and to walk into the lives of these people is to walk into their suffering and into the suffering of their nations.
Zion's slogan is where the nations worship. People say coming here feels like a taste of heaven.
We may have different accents in singing. We may play instrument different, but God is one.
It's not always easy making a place like Zion work, but on Sunday, when all the nations come together to worship God, the result is just beautiful.
Reporting from Des Moines, Iowa, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
중국에서는 정부 규제와 갈수록 거세지고 있는 해외 입양 반대의 흐름 속에 부모를 잃은 아이들에 대한 조치가 시급한 상황이라고 합니다. 이 중국에는 고향을 떠나 이 나라의 아이들에게 치유와 사랑의 메시지를 전하고 있는 한 호주인 부부가 있다고 하는데요. 베이징에서 온 소식입니다.
Children playing, smiling, and having fun. This is a home of joy and blessing. These children are special. Most of them were born with various physical challenges, such as heart failure, blindness, and lung disease. Because they could not afford the medical expense required to treat their kids, some parents reluctantly abandoned their own children. According to a recent report, there are as many as 50,000 special needs orphans in China, and roughly 600,000 orphans nationwide. Some groups put the nationwide number at closer to 1 million. Dr. Joyce Hill is a family medical practitioner. She and her husband Robin have lived in China for 20 years. On their first trip here, they encountered abandoned babies at a local orphanage. Then, God gave them a special mission. When they held a 4-year-old child, they were deeply touched.
And they pointed to the window, and it was like, I wasn't sure what the child was meaning by that, whether they just wanted to look outside, but it was like, it felt like, take me out of here. And in many ways, it sort of broke my heart.
The Hills prayed and knew they would return to this country and make a difference. In November 2002, the Hills used their savings to start the New Hope Foundation. The only thing they had left was their faith.
She looked at me and she said, I really think that God's asking us to get into a river. She said, I have no clue where we're going to end up, but I would like to ask these guys for a third of the land they're going to buy. We'll build our home, and we'll build a small foster home, and we'll look after sick orphan babies.
Their financial support soon came from friends and other donors. And by 2015, they had collected a total of $5 billion. They opened up 2 more orphanages in the cities of Henan and Luoyang.
I remember at the time, one of the things, the scripture that was really impressed into me so deeply was that, unless a seed falls into the ground and dies, it's not going to bear fruit. And it was almost like God was said, yeah, okay, fine. This, what you started there was just the seed. And it's going to look like it's going to die, but it's going to bear a lot of fruit, and it did.
Christians regularly travel from other nations to provide additional help to the ministry.
And we're very excited to be a part of this ministry for the short time that we're here. I think it's so important for the body of Christ to be very involved in orphan care, and I hope that our students catch the vision for that while they're here.
The Hills believe faith and obedience to the Lord are critical to their ministry.
And God's provided for it, you know, and He provides over and over again. Sometimes He provides more, you know, a little bit more than we need.
Besides healing those precious lives, the Hills also find opportunities to minister to their staff. Eventually, they join the Christian family, like their former atheist office assistant, Qu Guang.
Robin and Joyce always talk to me about God's unconditional love. I never knew what it meant and why they helped those kids with their own money. Now I'm a Christian, and I know it was Jesus who brought us all together.
China recently adopted a new law regulating international non-government organizations within large cities. Some NGOs halted their projects. They worried future resources will be slimmer. However, the Hills are still going strong, believing that God is not finished with them. Mengfei Li for CBN News, Beijing, China.
오늘 준비한 소식은 여기까지입니다. 저는 다음 주에 다시 찾아오겠습니다. 시청해주신 여러분 고맙습니다.